Okay, that's better. Okay, first of all, I'll read the tungsten block. And it is reading 450 degrees. Read the torch, if I can, which is not easy to do. And it's reading 118, 128. I read down here on the torch, and it's reading 65. All right, so one of the concerns I had was whether the hose would get hot, the plastic hose would get hot and melt. But back on the back of the torch where it connects is room temperature. I can feel the heat coming off of this. The back of the fireplace is reading 78. The fire brick is reading 62, believe it or not. And the thermometer on the table is reading 66 degrees. So this has been going for about 5 minutes. And I will get back to you in about 10 to 15 minutes to take temperatures again. Okay, 15 minutes have expired. The torch is still going strong. We will check the temperatures again. I think I can smell the alcohol smell, but everything else, it smells fine. And the tungsten now is reading at 700 degrees. We're on 700. It's bouncing around between 650 and 727, 737. That seems to be a fairly constant reading at 737. Okay, so that's good. Now the end of the torch is reading 149 degrees, 150 degrees. And the handle of the torch reading 73 degrees. No concern of melting the tube there. The back of the fireplace is reading 118 degrees now. Fire brick is reading 68 degrees. That's really odd. I guess it must be reflecting the heat. And over here on the table, which is pretty crazy. No, I think it's 67 degrees. So the temperature in the room has gone up a degree. It's about 10 feet away, which I think is pretty good for just 15 minutes of heating. So we'll give her another 15 minutes and we'll see how things have changed. Oh, the other thing I didn't tell you is that I have a ceiling fan going on low speed. So the temperature on the table might have been different without that fan. So the fan is distributing the heat throughout the room, and I could move the thermometer across the room, which is probably about 15 to 20 feet, and we could check that, see if what that temperature is. The only the other thing is that the stairs go upstairs, so I'm sure I'll have to check the temperature of the. I'll just do that right now. Check the temperature at the head of the stairs, because heat rises, of course. So. Temperature of the door at the top of the stairs is 69 degrees, so it's warmer than it is down here, which you'd expect. I'll go across the room and I'll measure some of the furniture over there. Okay, the room temperature across the room of the wall is 62 degrees. So we will see what happens in another 15 minutes. All right, so it's been another 15 minutes, long enough for me to go and get my lunch. Got a sun-dried tomato wrap with ham and Colby Jack cheese with some salsa, homemade salsa with some little chip scoopers. So if you come to hang with the Reckless Retiree, I'll give you that to eat. Such a deal. All right, so here we go. First of all, the tungsten block. It's very warm in front of the fireplace. Very warm. All right, so it's reading 694 degrees. Back of the fireplace is reading 106 degrees. The end of the torch is reading it's hard to hold it there, but it looks like about 190 degrees. The handle of the torch is reading 74 degrees. All right, and the thermometer on the table is reading 67. So still about a degree warmer than when we started. But it's very, very warm in front of the fireplace. How can I measure that? I could try measuring the floor. We'll measure the rug on the floor, and it's reading 68 degrees. We'll read the wood for the fireplace. That's reading 71. Now I did notice the smell at the top of the stairs was alcohol-y. Same smell as when I use the alcohol can, so I don't really like that. So if I were to continue to use this as a heater, and the idea is you turn your heat down in your house to like 60 or something during the day, and then in the particular room you're in, you heat it with a space heater, and I'll have to do some calculations to figure out what it's actually costing to heat in this fashion. It would be 13 amps, which is pretty constant now, times 110 volts, and that would be your watts, and then watt hours from that. I don't really understand how you calculate that all out, how that would compare to how I'm heating my house with propane, my propane heater. But anyway, it seems to be working as a space heater. Like I say, it's very warm. In the chair here in front of the fireplace, I'm going to eat my lunch, and we'll check one more time in 15 minutes to see how things have changed. Okay, I finished lunch, and I will now check the temperatures one more time. The highest temperature is 728 degrees. The end of the torch is at, well, if I can get it to, there we go, 143 degrees. Back of the fireplace, 117 degrees. The stand is reading 69, 70 degrees. And the thermometer on the table is now reading 68. So it's gone up 2 degrees since we began this process. And maybe not as aesthetically pleasing as a fireplace logs, but not altogether ugly either. Got that little blue flame on that silver tungsten block on the white fire brick and crucible. So it's very quiet. You can hear the bubbling of the gas, and you hear nothing from the flame. It's just very quiet. So if you like quiet, this is a good way to go. And if you had a long enough tube, you could even have the gas generator in another room. I thought about feeding it up. I have a fireplace upstairs in my living room, and I thought about feeding it up through the ash chute from the basement, have the generator in the basement in a closet, run the hose up through the ash chute, and then all you'd have is the torch and the block, however, suspended in the fireplace. So I may try this again upstairs, although really I would have to run it for days to probably feel an impact upstairs because of it. It's a great room, tall ceilings. I'll be heating the upstairs too because there's a mezzanine overlooking the great room. So there's a lot of space to heat. But in an emergency situation, now the problem is, as you probably already have thought of, this is running on electricity. So I would have to have it running on an emergency generator, which I have. But if I'm going to run the emergency generator, I'll just run my propane furnace, which doesn't run without electricity because you have to have the circulating fan to circulate the heat through the house. So, like I said, this would be an emergency situation. But the other thing is, as you know, I'm also making hydrogen with lye and aluminum, and I'm hoping to get to the point with the hardwood ash water. I call it that because it's a lower pH than the concentrated lye. But I'm hoping to get that ash water processed, and probably going to do that in the summer, because then I can put it in the passive solar box and heat it up that way, and it would cost nothing to condense the hardwood ash water into lye. Anyway, use that lye and aluminum, scrap aluminum, to make hydrogen and do something similar, or what would be even better is to feed it into a hydrogen fuel cell and make electricity. So those are all the things I plan in the future, so you can stay tuned to the Reckless Retiree. And don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and to tell all your friends about the wild antics that you so love.